Extreme Collectibles here with technical issues. That's regarding filming, not stuff going on here. But I filmed a review and an assembly of a custom piece. The assembly, I don't know what happened to it, it's gone. And during the review, the sound is muffled. It's not horrible, but I had to increase the volume a little bit. So when we get to that section, you're going to want to turn your volume down a little bit. But nothing, and I mean nothing, is going to stop day 9 of 10 Days of Statues. So buckle up. Let's do it. Ship it! Extreme Collectibles here, all cleaned up. We have quarter scale custom Drax the Destroyer. As a reminder, we don't talk about where customs come from. I believe this is sold out. I might be wrong, and the people who made this, if it's not, I'm sure they're going to see this video and sell more. They made 60 of these. This is actually number 4. I don't really care much about the number. I don't really care much about ES either. Obviously, it is nice to have a lower ES like 60 because it holds the value. Comes with a number of different things. So first of all, it does have an art print. I'm not an art print guy at all. I'm scratching my nose, not picking it, just in case you're wondering. I'm not an art print guy at all, but yeah, always neat to have with it. He has a ton of switch out, so let's talk about those. First of all, there's 2 different portraits. The first one is just a normal kind of badass, I know I'm better than you, smug portrait, which looks neat. And then the other one is his rage mode, really pissed off, ready to fight the world. And both look really good, and what's interesting is, in my opinion, depending on the arm switch outs we're going to go over in a second, different heads look better with different setups. For example, I think the raged mode goes better with the swords, and the smug mode goes better with the guns. So different options. On the left hand, you could have the sword displayed up like this, or it works reversible, where the sword is essentially upside down, or you have a big-ass gun leaning on his shoulder. The right side, he has a big-ass gun hanging to the ground, or he has a sword facing his back. And here's a picture of him with just the swords, and one with just the guns. I initially thought I was going to like the swords better, but I think I like the guns. But you can always do a kind of a combination as well, so that's really nice. Dimensions on him, he's about 19 inches wide. Let's go to the front here. 22 inches tall and deep. Kind of hard because the rocks are jutting all over the place. 13 inches deep. So Drax, if you don't know who that is, then you haven't seen Avengers. So the MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, has their own version of Drax. Not 100% accurate to the comic books. This is more accurate to a lot of the comic books. And Drax is actually a different an interesting character. So he actually had a life before Guardians of the Galaxy, and he was more powerful before that. His superpowers are strength and agility. Prior to him being resurrected from the dead and all this other shit happening, he actually had energy pulses from his hands. And I remember growing up reading Drax in the comics. He was such a badass. He was one of the ones that was kind of up there. And a lot of times, when I was young, I would confuse him with a villain. I always remember Drax the Destroyer as a villain, which actually is very inaccurate. But he is a huge adversary to Thanos, and there's different storylines on why. The MCU is because Thanos killed his planet and his family. And I really wanted a Drax because I am getting XM, Star-Lord, Groot, and Rocket. And I have a big Avengers display that I'm not going to show you today, maybe tomorrow. And I just thought they'd go really well with them. And this is, to my knowledge, the only quarter-scale Drax out there. And it's made by a custom company that does awesome pieces and an art director that does awesome work. So I thought it was kind of a no-brainer. Retail was $8.90 plus shipping from China, which wasn't too much. The box wasn't too bad, as you saw in the initial parts of it. The base is really heavy. He's really light, though, so a lot more resins, probably some hollow pieces, but doesn't feel cheap or anything like that. So pretty stoked to have him. It's going to be probably a year before I get XM's Star-Lord and Groot. And I need a Gamora. I don't like Sideshow's Gamora. But put all of them together, and these are actually going to go right below Silver Surfer and Galactus. So I think that setup is just phenomenal. It's like Silver Surfer, Galactus, Guardians of the Galaxy, then Avengers. So that'll look really neat, I think. But if you're kind of confused too, obviously his color variation is, like I said, more accurate to the comics. And I just want to show this scene. Hopefully it doesn't get me copyright issues, because it's one of the best Drax scenes in the movies.
Oh, dude, how long have you been standing there?
An hour.
An hour?
Are you serious?
I've mastered the ability of standing so incredibly still that I've become invisible to the eye. Watch.
You're eating a Zarg nut.
But my movement was so slow that it's imperceptible.
No.
I'm sure I'm invisible.
Hi, Drax.
I think they did an excellent job with Drax in the MCU. He has that dry comic relief that's much needed, but you still wouldn't fuck with him. So I've been swearing a lot, probably because I'm doing so many different videos. But let's talk about the concept and design of this guy. I think there's a couple really cool things with design, and one, I don't want to say issue, but noticeable item. So concept-wise, first of all, he's sitting on a ball. I don't know what this is. I probably should. I don't know if it's part of a spaceship. I don't know if it's something comic related. So somebody please comment on what it is, but it looks really neat. And there's rocks behind it, almost like he's on a planet. And then moving up, he's in an attack mode. I would almost consider this a dynamic pose as opposed to a museum pose, but it could kind of be either or. And he just looks badass. So I like the fact that they really captured the badassness. I don't know if that's a word. The badassness of Drax the Destroyer. And with all the different switch outs, it just really adds to it. Design-wise, one really cool thing, the swords are all loose. Which when I was taking it out of the box and I couldn't see it, I thought something was broken. But I think that's really smart for shipping and just display purposes. So they won't come out, but you can move them back and forth. And the gun almost felt that way too. One design issue is the seam in the head. And I'm okay with it because I would rather have switch outs. Both portraits are really badass. But as you see, there is a definitely noticeable seam there, and they couldn't do a collar or anything because that would just look strange. But otherwise, everything fit really good. No damage. Shipping was really good. It usually is from this custom manufacturer. And I think the company, not I think, but the company that does these also owns the factory that does a lot of other pieces. And I think I've had 2 issues before, and they sent me replacements. So highly recommend them. But let's dive into the paint and sculpt on Drax. And spoiler alert, just like most statues, there's a lot of really good things, and 1 or 2 things I would have liked to see done different. But starting at the base, where is one of my big concerns, I wouldn't say concerns, but just things I noticed. The rocks here, I don't like them. There's not enough texture on them. The stone's jutting out, and they're this purplish color, which it may be another planet, but and it's almost like this faded gloss on top of it. I don't like it. Yeah, and I'm not going to be staring at this part of it, but I think they missed it. I've seen much better concrete and rocks on other statues. But the ball, whatever the fudge it is, trying to do better on my language here, looks really good. This space age ball with different tones of almost gold, copper, gray, and then these wires running all over it. Could be a bomb. Looks really cool. Looks very space agey, which makes sense because it really follows the theme of the statue well. Because when you think of Drax or cosmic entities or Guardian of the Galaxy, you do immediately think space. So I think that was a good tie-in. But let's start on Drax. First, his boots. He has these metallic armored boots with scratches all over them and kind of different layering on it. So there's not any folds or texture or anything because it's not material. And it's purple and blue and black and all these different colors. Goes all the way up to his knees. And then looking at his legs here, first his pants. He has these crazy Hulk-type pants, but it looks really good on the character. It really brings out the alienistic aspect of the statue, knowing that it's a creature from another planet. Has these weird diamond texture parts on it, and what's interesting is some parts of it, they're dented out, and some parts they're indented. So kind of a little bit different. Seam running through the middle. His package seems small for how thick his thighs are. He does have thunder thighs, which makes sense. So the anatomy, in my opinion, he's one of those really big guys that almost looks like he's fat, and I'm talking about from the waist down. We haven't got to the top yet, but you still wouldn't want to fuck with because God, that's 3 times that I dropped the F-bomb. But because he could just pick you up with one hand. You ever see those guys in a bar? They don't look muscular, but they could squash you. So I don't go to bars too often. Yeah, I do. That's not a lie. Not like picking up chicks or anything. Actually, tomorrow, day 10, I'm going to a brewery, either right before the statue review I'm doing or right after. And if it's right before, buckle up. But back to Drax. So he's got this belt on, very similar to his boots, same metallic colors and structure with the same gashes. And the same thing can be said about his gloves, these gauntlets. Same exact thing with one exception. There's these orbs kind of where his elbows are. Kind of follows the orb that's on the bottom, the big ball there. And let's look at one of his swords really close here. It looks good. Some fading on it. Nothing really outish about it, but his guns look fantastic. A lot of detail in the guns from the triggers and the colors and the different pins and nuts. And again, not really a lot of anatomy on the gloves holding it because they're kind of metallic gloves, but there is a ton of anatomy all over Drax. So he is buffed out like there's no tomorrow. So I'm glad I can't see his thighs because they would probably be so over-muscular-chized. Write that down, over-muscular-chized. But check this out. So cool green colors with his red tattoos. I assume that's what they are. And awesome anatomy for a super roided out buff guy on his chest, his abs, his arms. A little bit of veins right on his biceps, but that's about it. Then up here around his neck, more veins. And his neck really makes the screaming portrait look a little bit better. And I usually don't miss stuff, but I have to go back to his thighs on the side. He has kind of these metallic plates with this 3 red stripes on them, and they're dented out, and they make a bold statement on the statue. It mixes it up quite a bit. I like it. Then let's look at his screaming portrait here. Again, you see a few veins. I don't know if the camera can catch them, showing how much his rage is. Whited out eyes, the red that look like tattoos on his chest. Great expression, great sculpt. Great paint around the mouth. His gums are a little bit different color. Obviously, he's not a human. Really impressed by that portrait. And then the same portrait, this is the more evil portrait to me. It's kind of sinister, where you would think he's an evil bad guy. And this one is more like he's plotting. Really impressed. So that's what I think of this guy. Pretty excited. He's the only Drax out there. And I'm going to show you tomorrow what he looks like with the entire Avengers collection, simply for the fact that I'm getting another Avengers piece for day 10. Closing it out, day 10, so stay tuned. And then I just got some shipping notifications for next week too. So the good thing is I have about 10 videos in stock ready to be posted, and I have about 10 more pieces I need to unbox. So be busy for quite a while, which is good because I have a lot of traveling coming up in August, September, and October. So really appreciate you guys watching. Let me know what you think of Drax, and let me know what other characters need to be done that haven't been done. So thanks so much. Take care.